So we've reached the last video of 2022 from myself, and I just thought I'd share 5 reflections on everything guitar related that's gone on in the last year, and I'd love you to share your experience of the last year on the guitar too in the comments section. First off, I'm very grateful for the fact after the last few years of disruption to live music, this year has been incredibly busy for me with gigs. I'm now involved in 3 musical projects, 2 bands, and also a new trio that started kind of back end of this year, so autumn. And that's with a fantastic female singer and an out of this world bass player. And for that project, I've written all the charts, arranged the tunes. It's been a real labour of love. We've done our first couple gigs, which have gone really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that grows next year. But for me, the biggest musical highlight this year was recording an album with Swing from Paris, a band I've been playing with for a long time. And again, going back to the last few years of disruption, we wanted to record a couple of years ago, but things just got in the way, and we finally got around to doing it, and that was fantastic. I'm really happy with the end product. You can listen to that on Spotify. You can also download it or order a physical copy on Bandcamp. And going back to that word gratitude, I've definitely noticed how audiences are just so happy to be back watching live music this year. It's been wonderful to experience that and be part of that. Now, one consequence of being involved in 3 musical projects, I think my own personal practice has been hit a bit hard by that, in that I've had to really focus just on learning new repertoire, maintaining repertoire of 3 bands, and sometimes that's forced the issue of what I have to practice and derailed what I wanted to focus on, which happens sometimes as a course of necessity. So, guitars, purchasing guitars, researching guitars, looking at websites late at night throughout the day. I can tell you now that I have been very, very good by my standards when it comes to purchasing guitars. I've actually sold 3 guitars this year and bought 1. The one I did buy was the Red 335 63 reissue, and the funny thing about this guitar is I used to own it and I bought it back off my friend. I bought it in 2014, sold it to him in 2016, and then I had that ES 355 with the Bigsby, which was a guitar I loved, but the Bigsby just irritated me with tuning stability and so forth. So I sold that, and I thought one day I'd love to get another ES style guitar, and it just so happened my friend was selling that guitar. And I wonder in the comments if anyone else has ever bought back a guitar from somebody or wish they could. And at some point this year I made a conscious decision to have a bit of a clear out of guitars and amps and focus on the really important thing of playing. And I have to say, not feeling compelled to look at certain websites for, have they got any new guitars up, particularly secondhand ones, or there's guitar auctions and things like that. Just be looking at things all the time, and it's not a productive use of time. That time could be much better spent practicing or listening to music, and that's what I found. It's not something I miss at all. Not to say I won't ever buy another guitar, that would be a crazy statement to make, but I'm just not going to be, I haven't been as invested in looking at guitars. Have you gained guitars this year? Sold guitars? Looking to buy guitars, or looking to do a bit more of what I've been trying to do, which is just focus less on all of that stuff and focus more on playing? Reflecting on my last year of guitar practice, I think 2 things really stand out that I've tried to do and stick to. And the first is seeing things through and sticking with something and practicing it for long enough to become part of my natural playing. And I mean that it needs to come from the right place when I perform or practice and play something. So I've spoken about this before on the channel, but when we're learning something, I don't know who came up with this theory, but it's been said that we go through 4 stages. First is unconscious incompetence, which means you don't know you're doing something wrong. Second one we move on to is conscious incompetence, where we're doing something and we're aware that we're doing it wrong. We then move to conscious competence, which is where I reckon a lot of guitar players end up getting stuck, which is where we can do something and we can do it correctly, but we're having to really think about it. Think about when you first started guitar and learned to change between G and D, for instance. It's a big mental effort, but at some point it becomes something that you can just do without thinking. Finally, we move on to unconscious competence, which is we can do something without thinking about it. And that's where I always want to try and take things. And I think if we don't practice something for long enough, there's not a chance of getting to that final stage. So whether it be standards, whether it be a way of working in arpeggios or chord voicings, I've really been disciplined over the last year and tried to stick with things for long enough. I'm sure, like me, Most people have a lot of songs they've previously learnt that they can't remember and so forth, or chord melody arrangements and so forth. My memory's not the best, and I find that I need to work with less. I'm happier working with less, but being able to do that well and being able to use those ideas in the moment on a gig. So maybe some of you can relate to that. Certainly leave some comments below on what you think about that topic of, you know, maybe working on less but doing it well and being able to apply it and use it, rather than being attracted by, oh, that song or this certain idea or this book and so forth. The second big thing I think I've focused on this year, or learnt from this year, is just working so much more by ear. It's very easy, say, when improvising or playing, to be, I think, in the wrong headspace, to be sort of thinking, oh, it's a 5 chord, let's use the tritone. I try to avoid that, and I've really made a conscious effort when on gigs or practicing at home, just to be in the moment, use my ear, try and sing a melody and find it on the guitar. I'm sure those melodies are informed by things I practice. I've done much more of that. I've done a lot without the guitar as well, you know, memorizing chord changes and things like, if I can't sing a line, if I can't sing a melody, maybe I don't know it well enough, or maybe my fingers know it and I don't know it. So at the start of the year, I started out with just under 10,000 subscribers, just past 15, getting towards 16. Very grateful to all of you for your comments, your views, hitting that like button, and to all of my patrons, which I'll come back to. In terms of the channel itself, usually this time of year I think about, what shall I do new in 2023? What ways could I develop the channel? What could I be doing better with? And whilst for me, the thing I need to be better with is always coming up with the video ideas. The idea is much more important than the other things I'm about to mention, which is things I've wrestled with, which is, should I craft titles in the style of other YouTubers? Should I have those silly sort of thumbnails that they do? And should the videos, you know, promise the earth, you know, this one thing solved my improvising forever, this game-changing practice technique and so forth. And I've always wrestled back and forth with this over the last couple of years, especially this year. And I've just decided I don't want to go down that route and just be myself and not, you know, play the game, I suppose. Maybe to, you know, not for the best of the channel either. You know, if I did go down that route, I could probably reach a lot more people, but it's just not me. So in regards to that, big things you can help me with, if you like if you support the channel and you like the content I produce, is just, you know, things like hitting the like button, leaving a comment. Those things really do send good signals to the algorithm, so that's always much appreciated. This year also saw the launch of my Patreon page, which has been something I've been thinking about for a while. I think that was started back in March. I've really enjoyed that new experience, like creating content on there. There's tons of stuff on there now, and you know, still new to that. That's still developing and evolving, and I'm looking forward to working on that hard in next year, as well as the channel. Which brings me to say, you know, just a big thank you to everyone for watching the channel, supporting the channel, whether that be through Patreon, whether that be through donations, or just leaving a comment or the like button. Those things all have helped me continue doing what I do, and particularly, you know, the Patreon and the donations help me afford the time to be able to do this, so thank you. Now my fifth point is actually a personal point. In this past year, I've changed one thing in my life and the way I approach things that I've been meaning to do for some time, and that is simply taking better care of myself. So did something I'd never thought I'd ever do, which is join a gym. It's more an average Joe's than a Globo gym, thankfully, but I did that, you know, going back a few months now, and I'm amazed I actually really love it. Going there, swimming, running, go to classes, all sorts. And I've overall just noticed such a difference, you know, better sleep, better energy levels. The suits and gig wear seem to fit a bit better, which is good. And just general better mental health as well. So, you know, that's something, you know, I previously wouldn't say I was unhealthy necessarily. I used to walk the dog a lot. But it was reaching that point where I felt like I needed to do more, and I'm really glad that I did. I never thought I'd turn into a gym person, but here I am. So that's been a really positive thing, and I also use it as a great place, you know, when I'm, you know, there to listen to stuff, listen to tunes I'm working on, or just listen to new music. And when I do use the sauna, that is my time to memorize chords to jazz standards, because there's nothing else to do in there. Anyway, so that's just a side note to this year, really. I wonder if anyone else has started doing that this year. Probably about 2 in January. That's when most people start, I think, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for watching today's video. Thank you for your support, as I said, for the channel over the past year. Look forward to uploading in 2023. Please comment on the video if there's particular things you'd like to see on the channel. Love to hear your ideas. I've got a lot of content planned out already, but it's always interesting to get your perspective on things maybe I've not thought about covering that you might find or others might find useful. I hope you've had a good end of the year, and let's get on to keep working at our jazz guitar playing and practice in 2023. Until next time, you take care.